In the midst of World War II, Soviet political commissars faced a brutal fate, targeted by both Stalin's purges and Hitler's genocidal orders. Their story is one of loyalty, fear, and the deadly price of ideology. During World War II, Soviet political commissars were not only the ideological enforcers of the Communist Party, but also key figures in maintaining control over the Red Army. Tasked with ensuring absolute loyalty to Stalin's regime, their commitment to the cause came at an unimaginable cost. From being purged by Stalin's paranoia to becoming prime targets in Nazi Germany's brutal extermination efforts, the story of these commissars is a chilling reminder of how power, fear, and ideology collide. In this video, we'll explore the ruthless elimination of Soviet political commissars and the deadly price they paid for their loyalty. The Soviet Union during World War II was a land steeped in fear, where paranoia, control, and ideological conformity were deeply embedded in daily life. For soldiers in the Red Army, fear was not just an abstract concept. It was a constant presence, as every word spoken and every decision made was under the scrutiny of the Soviet state. Political commissars, who were introduced after the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917, embodied this vigilance. They were tasked with ensuring the loyalty of soldiers to the Communist Party, but the influence and power of these commissars came at a heavy cost, particularly during the paranoia of Stalin's purges and Hitler's ruthless commissar order. This dark period in Soviet history sheds light on the destructive consequences of ideological fanaticism and the price of loyalty during wartime. Commissars, once seen as the defenders of the Soviet cause, became targets of both political elimination and enemy extermination policies. Their story reflects the brutal intersection of loyalty and survival in a system where loyalty to the state often meant sacrificing everything. Ultimately, their fate exemplifies the human toll of absolute control under Stalin and the horrors of totalitarian regimes at war. The rise of the political commissars can be traced back to the early years of the Soviet Union. After the Bolshevik Revolution, the Red Army faced chaos and disarray. Lenin, seeking to consolidate control and ensure loyalty to the Communist Party, introduced the concept of political commissars. These were not typical military officers. Their primary responsibility was ideological oversight. They acted as the eyes and ears of the party within the military, ensuring that the actions and attitudes of both soldiers and commanders remained in line with Bolshevik principles. Their role was multifaceted. Not only did they monitor the loyalty of the army, but they also enforced communist ideology by conducting political education sessions and distributing literature. The aim was to mold soldiers into dedicated party members who would remain unwavering in their commitment to the cause. As the Red Army grew in size and complexity, commissars became deeply embedded in the military structure. They wielded considerable power, even equal to that of military commanders. This was part of a system known as the dual command, where each military unit was led by both a military commander, responsible for strategy and tactics, and a political commissar, responsible for ensuring ideological purity. This structure was designed to prevent the army from deviating from the party line and to ensure the loyalty of soldiers. However, it also created significant tensions, as the political commissars held the power to override military decisions, often leading to a climate of mistrust between commanders and commissars. The origins of the commissar system were born out of necessity during the Russian Civil War. The Red Army, plagued by desertions and internal disloyalty, required a system that would ensure the commitment of its soldiers. The commissar's presence was meant to deter defections and to root out any counter-revolutionary activity. One of the key figures behind the establishment of this system was Leon Trotsky, the People's Commissar for Military and Naval Affairs. Trotsky, tasked with rebuilding the Red Army from the remnants of the old Imperial Russian forces, viewed commissars as vital to maintaining the loyalty of the army to the Soviet cause. He believed that they would prevent any conspiracies within the army and keep the military institutions aligned with the goals of the revolution. However, as Stalin consolidated power, the commissars found themselves in an increasingly precarious position. Stalin, known for his paranoia, initiated the Great Purge in the late 1930s, a campaign aimed at eliminating perceived threats to his power. Commissars, along with many others in the military and the Communist Party, were targeted during this purge. Thousands of commissars were accused of treason, espionage, or ideological deviation, and many were executed or sent to the gulags. This purge decimated the leadership of the Red Army, leaving it ill-prepared for the coming conflict with Nazi Germany. Even the most loyal and capable commanders were not safe from Stalin's suspicion, and many experienced officers were replaced with less capable individuals. This created a leadership vacuum that contributed to some of the Soviet Union's early defeats in the war. Stalin's purges went beyond simply eliminating political threats. They were also a means of consolidating absolute control. By targeting commissars, Stalin sent a clear message that no one, not even the most dedicated party members, was safe from his scrutiny. The pervasive atmosphere of fear and mistrust extended down through the ranks, as soldiers and officers alike lived under the constant threat of denunciation. Any misstep, whether political or personal, could lead to severe punishment. This environment of paranoia not only weakened the morale of the Red Army, but also hindered its ability to function effectively on the battlefield. Instead of focusing on cohesive military strategy, many soldiers were more concerned with self-preservation. In June 1941, the Nazi invasion of the Soviet Union began with Operation Barbarossa, and Hitler issued the infamous Commissar Order. This directive mandated the immediate execution of any captured Soviet commissars, viewing them as dangerous ideologues who could inspire resistance among Soviet troops. Commissars, easily identifiable by their distinctive uniforms and the political literature they carried, became prime targets for Nazi execution squads. These squads would either shoot them on the spot or hand them over to the SS for extermination. The Commissar Order was part of Hitler's broader strategy to wage a war of annihilation against the Soviet Union by targeting its ideological leadership. Commissars represented the very heart of Soviet political resistance, and by eliminating them, Hitler hoped to undermine Soviet morale and weaken the Red Army's resolve. Despite the brutal nature of this policy, it often had the opposite effect of what the Nazis intended. The execution of commissars, rather than demoralizing Soviet forces, galvanized resistance and reinforced the will to fight on. Many Soviet soldiers viewed the commissars as martyrs, and their deaths were used as propaganda to inspire the troops to continue resisting the invaders. The narrative of commissars being killed in cold blood by the Nazis became a rallying cry, motivating soldiers to fight for their comrades and their homeland. However, the relationship between soldiers and commissars was complicated. While some soldiers respected the commissars for their commitment and leadership, others resented their ideological oversight. This tension was particularly pronounced in the early years of the war, when the Red Army suffered devastating defeats, and the commissar's authority was sometimes seen as a source of frustration. Among the most notable examples of commissars who rose to prominence on the battlefield was Nikolai Krov, who played a pivotal role in the defense of Stalingrad. Krov demonstrated exceptional leadership and bravery in the face of overwhelming odds, earning respect not only from his fellow commissars but also from the soldiers he led, who saw him as both a leader and a symbol of resilience. Another well-known commissar was Vasil Zev, a skilled sniper who blended military prowess with his ideological commitment. His actions on the front lines served as a testament to the multifaceted role commissars played during the war. They were not only political enforcers but also fighters who led by example, often charging into battle alongside their men, inspiring those around them with their courage and determination. Despite their contributions to the war effort, the role of the political commissar underwent significant changes as the war progressed. The Red Army, facing the relentless demands of combat, needed more streamlined command structures. Some commissars were given greater military responsibilities, reflecting the Army's need for a balance between political oversight and operational efficiency. By the end of World War II, the role of the commissar was significantly diminished. Stalin, ever wary of their potential to challenge his authority, phased out the dual command system. Many surviving commissioners were reassigned to civilian roles and some were quietly retired. Others faced renewed persecution during Stalin's later purges. After the war, the legacy of the political commissar became less prominent, overshadowed by the broader narrative of Soviet victory. The commissar system, however, left an enduring mark on Soviet military organization. The influence of the commissar model extended beyond the Soviet Union, particularly in other communist regimes such as China. In the People's Liberation Army, PLA, political officers played crucial roles during the Korean War and subsequent conflicts, ensuring that military actions adhered to party directives. The legacy of the commissar system continued to shape communist military structures for decades, reflecting the enduring impact of Stalin's model of ideological control. The story of the Soviet political commissars is a stark reminder of the destructive power of ideology and paranoia. Commissars were both perpetrators and victims, caught between the ideological demands of the Soviet state and the brutal realities of war. Their legacy serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of absolute power, the human cost of ideological warfare, and the profound impact of political purges on both the individual and the collective. The fate of the Soviet political commissars serves as a haunting reminder of the destructive power of absolute control and ideological warfare. Caught in the crossfire of Stalin's purges and Hitler's genocidal policies, these men and women faced unimaginable sacrifice. Their story not only shaped the course of the Soviet Union during World War II, but also left a lasting legacy in military and political structures around the world. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more historical stories that uncover the hidden truths of our past.